Hello, everyone. This will be quick but painful because, against my better judgment, my friend and I started Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix adaptation, right? And we're about 3 episodes in. Mind you, this is spaced out. Like 2 to 3 days ago, we just got to the third episode. And before that, it was like 2 weeks ago that we did the first 2 episodes. For me, there is no sense of urgency to continue with this show and finish it. Like, if I were on my own watching this, I would have dropped it after the second episode. The only reason that I'm pushing through is because I'm watching it with my friend. And I think we both, out of curiosity, just kind of want to see what else they're going to do with this story and these characters that they're trying to adapt. Because for me, this show is just a misfire. And even looking at it on its own, which I find that hard to do because they're clearly adapting the cartoon and that story. And, some people have steadily argued, like, it's not going to be one for one. You just have to see it for what it is. And it's like, I don't understand how you can do that so thoroughly when they're just clearly adapting the cartoon. But looking at it on its own, for me, the show is just a mess. Like, the pacing is ridiculous. The characters are flat. The only thing they've got really going for them right now is some of the costume design and the CGI for the bending. That's about it. Everything else has just kind of fallen flat. And if we bring the cartoon back into it, it's even worse because you've zapped the life and personality out of most of these characters and you've left us with these bland archetypes that is not interesting. And I don't want to follow these people for 8 episodes. Like, articles came out before the show was even released stating, major changes that they were making to Sokka's character, Katara, and even Aang and like the story. And it was just so disheartening. And I don't know why they would release this information so close to the show coming out when you are trying to cater to the audience that grew up watching this show. And can we discuss quickly the irony of them making the show mature, and then within that, you treat your audience like they're 5 years old? Because apparently I'm the audience that they're catering to. I'm 23 and I grew up with that show. Apparently I can't catch visual cues from visual storytelling. Apparently I have to have exposition shoved down my throat episode after episode after episode. It is so exposition heavy. And like, literally, we saw the genocide at the first episode. And then within 20 minutes, Aang is told about the genocide through Grand. And not by him going to the air temple and slowly putting it together, which would create for a better emotional moment, and it would make his freak out and activating the avatar state. It would make more sense rather than him just being told by Grand and he has this stale look on his face. Like, like if you could see my face, like, it was just like, it was crazy. Aang is the most lifeless child I've ever seen on screen. You took this bubbly, buoyant, naive child and reduced him to this ultra serious, I want to save the world. And it's not fitting at all. It just makes him so removed and unimportant from his own story because he's constantly doing things that don't mean anything. You keep divorcing him from arcs that he should very much be a part of. Like, I'm hearing that he really didn't even learn waterbending. And from the third episode, he didn't do any type of waterbending practice with Katara when she had the scroll. And that's supposed to introduce a point of conflict because, when Katara has the scroll and they're both learning from it, she gets upset and hot-headed because Aang picks up way faster as the avatar than she does as a waterbender. And it like upsets her. And that lends to a flaw in Katara's character. But none of these characters can have flaws. They can't have anything. They're just there. It's insane. Aang is literally giving out monologues. This is a 12-year-old kid. He's giving out monologues. I'm gonna save the world, and it's just, for me, it's not interesting. This is not Aang, and this rendition of Aang is not interesting. Then you have Sokka. Honestly, I am kind of enjoying Sokka's performance the most. I think the actor is utilizing his face the best. And his voice just kind of sounds similar to the voice actor. It's really unnerving. It's crazy. But there's another issue again of divorcing him from certain storylines, like the whole thing with Jet. Sokka was not a part of that at all, which is crazy because in the original show, he was very much embedded in that whole situation. He didn't trust Jet from the beginning. Katara did not believe him. It created conflict between those two. And then it added to his skills as a leader. Like, all of that stuff is important. And he was completely divorced from that to the point where he didn't even know where Katara was the entire day. Your sister literally snuck off with this man and watched him and the freedom fighters get to business, and you were nowhere to be found. And then they have this melodramatic argument about Jet, and then within 5 minutes, it's solved. Katara's like, "Oh my God, you're right. Jet's he's gonna king Boomy." It was just so anticlimactic. Like, I cannot. The sibling relationship between Katara and Sokka is so stale. It's just so stale. And you remove him being sexist, which is a big part of his character growth within the first book. It helps him understand gender roles and, respecting his future girlfriend and the fact that they can both be warriors. And it's very important. And you removed it. So what you replace it with, though, is not good. He has these interactions with Suki that just don't add up. Like, he respects Suki immediately. So then when she looks him up and down as like, "You're a warrior," that reaction doesn't make sense. Sokka never gave the implication that, he felt to be this proud warrior and he's just the best there is. And he can't even comprehend that Suki and the Kyoshi warriors are a thing. Like, none of that was there, so Suki's reaction doesn't make sense. And then you reduce Suki's character because the only reason she really even trains Sokka is because she likes him. It has nothing to do with wanting him to, respect the Kyoshi warriors and learn their ways. Like, no, she just likes him. And it's just like, okay. Oh, brother. And then Katara. Katara is just really bland. And I'm trying not to blame the actors, but I do think there needed to be some type of acting coach on set. I think there needed to be better direction because Katara, she's just there. Like, she's just there. I don't know. There's no type of motherly instinct. She's not hot-headed. There's no bossy nature. She's not, like, annoying in the slightest. She's just there. And I don't want to say that about Katara. Katara's a badass. And I'm sure we're going to have a moment with that down the line as I eventually finish the show. But I need, like, something. I need some ounce of personality, and it's just not there. Zuko and Iroh, they're okay. We saw Azula and Gang for the first time, and she's okay. She's not nearly as menacing as in the cartoon, like, at all. The fact that May and Ty Lee are not afraid of her is just very, I don't know. It's just very bizarre. I don't know how that dynamic's going to shift as things go on. I will say her introduction, though, was pretty cool when she betrayed the Earthbenders, right? That was pretty cool. I had a feeling. I was looking at her like, that's got to be Azula. And then sure enough, it was. Let me think. Ty Lee looked fine. May, I don't know. Her makeup needed to be different. The makeup was not as striking as it was in the cartoon. And I feel like that adds to May and, like, her mysteriousness and, I'm sorry. I hate that I said mysteriousness. I feel like that's not a word, but let's say her enigmatic nature. It adds to that. there's just so many things that are important that are absent within this adaptation. And I understand making changes, but these changes should not mess with the foundational blocks of the characters and story and universe that you're adapting. And unfortunately, the changes made do all of the above. So it's very unnerving to try and watch it. It's just like, and then you're combining arcs, which that you like, it doesn't work because certain things are supposed to happen in sequential order because it leads to other events, which leads to other events, which leads to other events. I just don't think that this show, I don't think the show should have been adapted. If you wanted to do something related to the Avatar universe, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's like books, there's games, like you could have touched on that. It's just, and you really could have made it your own thing from there. But to try and do the original and it just feels so botched and put together. And then you have 8 episodes. Why? This is why you're cramming shit together, because it's 8 episodes long. There's no room for these characters to breathe and really settle in what's happened to them. As I explained with Aang, like, I mean, within 20 minutes, this man, by the end of the first episode, he settled into his responsibilities as the Avatar. Something that took him almost the entire first book to do. He settled into it in the first episode. They cram stuff together. They bum rush plots. And so then we're just left with these characters who are just so empty. Because what do they have to go through? What trials and tribulations are they going through? Nothing. You divorce characters from certain storylines, rendering them meaningless. Like, it just, I don't know. It's clear why the original creators left. It's clear. It just, Netflix's spin on it, I'm not a fan. No, I'm really not a fan. I'm really not a fan. But that's all I have to say. So, let me know what you think, or don't if you hadn't watched the show. But, and I did see Princess Yui's wig. Whoever made that wig, fired. Because how is the movie version 10 times better than the TV show? Come on now. Come on. Come on. And then one last thing. I think part of the reason why the actors are not really hitting for me, like in certain scenes, because I think it's clear when these actors are in front of a green screen, where they're in front of a huge green screen, because they feel so detached from what we're seeing behind them. The sets sometimes don't feel lived in at all. So it's very jarring, and it breaks the immersion quite often for me. And I don't necessarily blame them. That's why I'm saying, I think they just needed better direction, because this is going to be CGI heavy. These people are probably going to be in front of a green screen. And if you don't have that imagination, it is really hard to pull off acting in front of a green screen most of the time. That's just me, though. That's just how I feel about it. But that's it. Let me know what you think or don't. But thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.